What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Ken Dog, repping In the Clutch Dance Crew, Eastside representing Jersey. I'm standing here with the legendary Buddha Stretch of Elite Force Dance Crew, NYC. How you doing, Stretch?
What's good? Elite Force in the building. Elite Force is the crew. Mop Top is the foundation. What's up, y'all?
What's going on? So we here at the 2011 Hip Hop International. How you enjoying yourself so far?
I'm having a good time. I've been impressed a couple of times this week by New Zealand, and you know, things have been. It's been a good time so far. It's been a really fun time. It's my first time here ever, and I'm learning all kinds of stuff. You know, I just learned that I could be in there dancing.
True, exactly. So you have been judging the Mega Crew division, correct?
Yes, and the juniors.
And so how was that for you? What do you think of the talent from other countries and the Mega Crew, or what do you think of the Mega Crew division overall?
I thought when I first heard about the Mega Crew thing, I was kind of skeptical, like so many people on stage. But you know, when I hear Mega Crew, I'm thinking Flash Mob.
Right.
But you know, I was blown away.
Right.
The talent that got up there and the things that they did, it was really, really, really good.
Right.
And I must say, the USA represented hard.
Yes.
They came hard. And New Zealand, again, New Zealand, man, I can't say enough. They showed so much. I didn't know that the New Zealanders were up on the things that they were up on. So I got to give them a special shout out. They blew me away with their performance.
Yeah, they're definitely a powerhouse. I mean, they're like 2 years in a row they're, champions.
Yeah,
and
see, I didn't know that. This is my first year, so I'm, thinking New Zealand. Like, really?
Yeah.
But I understand now.
Yeah.
Excuse my ignorance.
Yeah, they're a problem. They're a real problem. So we got to catch up. So what do you think, what is this event? How do you think it's good to the hip-hop culture? What do you think it's bringing to our hip-hop culture?
Well, what it does is it brings people together. That's what makes hip-hop, that's what makes, governments and politicians and people of that nature so mystified by hip-hop. They can't categorize it. They can't manipulate it.
Right.
Because, those kind of people are divisive. And hip-hop brings people together. And so what you're seeing is an international, congregation.
Right.
When people coming together under one banner, and usually that happens in politics.
Exactly.
We're making it happen through music and dance. And,
yes, sir.
That's always a good thing.
Amazing. And speaking of hip hop, with your crew and Mop Top being the foundation of the hip hop freestyle culture, can you give the people who don't know about hip hop? About Mop Top and Elite Force Crew. Could you let them know how did it start, when it started, and what was the foundation laid out for dancers like myself today?
Well, first and foremost, I wanted to clarify one thing. There's this misconception that there's two styles of hip hop. There's New York style and LA style.
Right.
Well, let me clear this up. Is there a New York style of popping?
No.
Is there a New York style of locking?
No.
Is there a LA style of breaking?
Not at all.
Okay, so how could there be one for hip hop?
Exactly.
Hip hop started in New York City.
New York.
The style that they do in LA is from New York City. So there's hip hop. What you do, you're dancing to hip hop music. You're expressing hip hop culture.
Right.
Call it that.
Exactly.
Stop coming up with these different terminologies. Another thing, we didn't. New Jack Swing is a term for Teddy Riley's music. Okay, it has nothing to do with the dance.
Exactly.
The dance is called hip hop. How do I know this? I was there when it started. Half of those steps I made up personally in my living room. So for the people that don't know, there's an era before us. We call it the B Street era, when there was nothing but breaking, popping, a little locking. What they deem here as old school. And after that era, with the over commercialization of breakdancing, that died down. When that died down, what did we do? We needed something to do. We just started dancing.
Right.
And that dancing came about by, we took the latest steps that were out and we combined them with everything else. Thus the terminology to freestyle.
Yes.
But it's freestyle, but not free of style.
Right.
We don't just do anything. If you roll around on the ground and look like you're, having a heart attack, you're not dancing. That's not hip hop.
Exactly.
Let's clarify that.
Right.
Okay, you're going through contusions. That's not hip hop. So you know, and then people say, oh, well, party dances. Everything is a party dance.
Exactly.
Okay? Breaking started as a party dance. Popping started as a party dance. Locking started. It's all party dancing. Or the correct PC or whatever scientific term for it is social dancing.
Social dancing.
You know, everything is based on social. A social dance is when people get together.
Right.
This is a social gathering.
Right.
So it's nothing wrong with saying social dance because everything is a party dance.
Exactly.
You know? And, you know, what happens is it became a style is because we clarified what the steps and the moves were. Just like there are steps, there's a vocabulary to locking, there's a vocabulary to breaking,
Right.
there's a vocabulary to, you know, popping. Well, there's a vocabulary to hip hop.
Exactly.
You know, and that's what's missing. A lot of people are misinformed. What they're doing in these studios is they're doing basically jazz.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with jazz.
Nothing
if
at all.
If you know what jazz is. You know, but jazz isn't a representation of hip hop. Hip hop is hip hop. Jazz is named after what? Jazz.
Exactly.
Okay, so know your dances. You cannot go into a ballet contest and they're asking you for first position and, you know, plie, and you're doing, you know, a 6-step and head spins. So, you know the dance. It's not that hard. It's not that hard to learn. You know, I think what happens is people want the easy way out. They want to be the latest YouTube star.
Right.
Or you know, on So You Think You Could Dance. But, you know, if you dance and you're true to what you do, then people will pay attention to you.
Yes, sir. I agree. You valid point and everything. And I think that, you know, the younger generation that are going to watch this video should really watch this and pay attention to what this is, because they have a lot of people that kind of like steer them in the wrong direction, you know, that don't know their vocabulary as well, you know. So it's very good that you stated those points, you know, for those people who don't know. Now,
yeah, well, just to reiterate, that problem is because these people that are steering people in the wrong direction, they want attention.
Right.
And if you, you know, they want to be a part of every conversation, even though they don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
So rather than admit to not knowing what they're talking about, they steer you into their conversation and keep the conversation on them.
Exactly.
Rather than educate themselves. That's just laziness and ignorance. It's just like me not knowing about New Zealand.
Exactly.
You got to give it up. You know, New Zealand is a problem, as my man said. So I am now educated, and I'm not, you know, you know, afraid to say that.
Right.
You should always be willing to learn. Nobody knows it all.
Exactly.
You know, and that's the problem. People don't want to look bad. Well, when you're learning, you don't look bad. You look bad when you're unwilling to learn.
Exactly. That's dope, man. That's dope. Now, you're going to be teaching a class here tomorrow, correct?
Yes, sir.
So, in the class, tell us what the students are going to learn exactly.
Well, let's clarify. It's a class. When you leave the class, you're supposed to leave with some kind of information.
Exactly.
So what I'll be doing is, my class has a basic setup and curriculum based on ballet. Ballet does across the floor. Then they do the bar. Then they, you know, so what we'll be doing is across the floor. We'll be running through the gamut of party dances, as they call them, or vocabulary, and then we'll get into some choreography. And by the time we get into some choreography, we'll see how many people are left.
Exactly. So that's what I wanted to get into as well. You know, you're teaching them the foundation before you actually teach them the choreography.
Exactly.
And a lot of people just start out teaching choreography and they don't know any of the moves by the time they leave the classroom. You know, so that's also a big problem that we have in our hip-hop generation as well. So what do you think about that? Like, how do we...
Well, it goes back to the people teaching. There are a lot of people who win contests or, you know, they've appeared on YouTube and got 2 million hits, and now they're teaching class. What they're teaching isn't class. They're teaching the little bit that they know, which is going to run out because they're not trying to learn anything else.
Exactly.
So that's why you have so many people that when they leave a class, if you ask them, well, what did you learn? They can't tell you anything.
Right.
You know, what I try to do, that's why I said my classes are based in, you know, actually the way that I teach is based in ballet. It gives you something to compare it to. And I feel that if you're going to teach, you have to teach them something. They should leave with some kind of information on what you're teaching them. If I'm teaching locking, I'm going to teach them what a wrist roll is, what an Uncle Sam is,
Right.
you know, what the Witcher way is, and how to do it multiple ways.
Exactly.
You know, what a stop and go is, you know. So, you know, when I'm teaching hip hop, you know, do you know what the dance that you're doing is called, the monastery?
Right.
Do you know that when you're doing all of this, they call it the Wu-Tang, and,
Yeah.
and it's from Baltimore? You should know these things.
Right.
How did I learn these things? I asked.
Exactly.
I studied. You know, I learned a whole style of dance from my daughter. You know, I learned how to do the style. It's called Get Light.
Yeah.
I learned all the steps from my kid. You know, I learned how to jerk from my kid.
Right. And
You
it's,
know?
it's dope that you're still open, you know, and you've been doing this for such a long time, you know, and I hope that everyone, you know, takes this as some inspiration to learn and grow and everything from it, because I know I just learned a lot of things in this conversation as well.
Well, there's a saying: a closed mouth doesn't get fed.
Right.
Well, a closed mind gets no information. So if you're open-minded, you have the capacity to grow. You're closed-minded, you're gonna die. It's that simple.
There you have it, folks. It's your boy Ken Dog. I'm here with the legendary Buddha Stretch, Elite Force Dance Crew, Mop Top, NYC representing. We here at the 2011 Hip Hop International event. We out.